Again, and as always, I'll just kind of wrap up last week's game. It was a good win. We're 1-0. You know, it was a game that we had a lot of favorable personnel matchups. The thing I was most pleased about is we did not have a lot of what I would call the game one mistakes. There weren't a lot of procedures. For the most part, we took care of the football until late in the game with our third group in there. And the other good thing is we got to play a lot of players. We had 57 players play 10 snaps or more, and only 2 players played more than 50 snaps. So the good news is we won. We played relatively clean. We came out of it healthy. And now as you head into week 2, you know, we haven't been tested yet. And Boston College was tested. They found a great way to win a 4-quarter game against Northern Illinois, who's always one of the best teams in the MAC. That's a very tough place to play. And they went in there with a freshman quarterback and found a way to win. And, you know, as always, Boston College, it starts with their defense. They're excellent, year in, year out. They have 2 defensive ends that are probably as good as any 1-2 end combo in the country. Landry, who could be the top 1 pick, a top 5 pick, a top 10 pick. You know, he is as talented a pass rusher as there is in college football. You know, our league has a lot of good defensive ends. We have one of them, and this is certainly one of the elite players in our conference. And he was a nightmare for us a year ago. We couldn't block him. He had, I think, 2 or 3 sacks. He's just so quick off the football. He's a great speed rusher. He's strong. He's relentless. He leaves his feet to make plays. He is one of the best defensive players that we've played against in our time here, and that's not an overstatement. He's an elite player. And then on the other end, Allen is a very strong, exceptional player as well. And then their 2 tackles are stout. We've never been able to move them off the ball. We haven't in our 3 years here. And you know, their linebackers are very instinctive. They're experienced there. And they got the same collection of players in the secondary with one new starter, but these are the same people that last year we couldn't get open against. I think a year ago we took 15 deep shots and maybe hit 1 or 2 of them, got a pass interference on 1, and we had 1 for a touchdown. But their corners are both NFL prospects. Their safeties are excellent support guys. They're extremely well coached. You know, I think Jim Reed and Paul Pasqualoni are 2 of the best defensive minds in all of college football, and they've been that way for the last 20 years. They're really, really good. And every time that we've played BC, it has been a 60-minute, low-scoring game that has come down to the last possession. That's been 3 years in a row. And we have to be prepared for that type of game. I think offensively they're very improved. Like any Steve Adazio team, their offensive line is physical. Their center, Baker, is a really, really good player. He's probably an all-ACC caliber lineman. The running back, Hillman, if he gets his shoulders north and south, is a very physical back. BC has a 220-pound back, a 235-pound back. That when these guys get north and south, they can certainly, you know, inflict some damage when you get them going downhill. Their tight ends have depth. 89 Sweeney is a very good pass-catching tight end. And they're improved at wideout. The Smith kid is a former quarterback. They've run a lot of speed sweeps with him. You know, obviously they're trying to get him more involved in the offense any way they can, throwing the ball, handing it off to him. The kid White, a freshman for him, made some real impressive plays, some big body plays, and Walker, number 3. You know, it's BC. They've got big receivers that can body up, and they can make plays on deep balls. And their quarterback, Anthony Brown, he's a young man out of New Jersey that we recruited. We really liked him a lot in high school. You know, we offered him, we recruited him, and we thought he was an outstanding player. And, you know, he got game 1 under his belt. He's athletic, he makes plays with his feet, and, you know, he's 1-0 as a starter. So this has always been a huge game for us. We're in conference, we're in division. And it's a team that, again, we know it's going to be a very tough, hard-fought game, and we're going to have to play extremely well. And I think our players look forward to the challenge.
Coach, you You mentioned how their game that they played was a 60-minute game. They had a pretty tough game. You guys, are somewhat fresh, I would say, because you said many of your guys didn't play over 50 snaps. Who does that favor in this matchup?
I mean, I don't.
You guys coming fresher?
I don't think it favors anybody. I mean, it's just the way the schedule lays out. That game for us that we just had we needed that game, and we needed that game because we have 4 new coaches. It was new communication. It was new people in the box, new identification. And even though I thought our players played fairly clean, trust me, there's a lot of things from that game that we need to clean up. There are things that we did not do well that as coaches we saw and we showed our players, that we didn't cover a route the right way, and we won a pass rush. So the ball never got off. That play this week is 6 points. So we needed that game. Where we are right now with all the new coaches and some of the new guys we have on defense, I'm glad we had it. But there's also a realization that we have 11 more games that we will not have that type of personnel advantage that we had in that game. So again, I think we're going to get tested this week. BC got tested a week ago, and to come out of a 4-quarter game and win always helps your team. But for us to have 4 new coaches go through a game at home, to have 57 players play and get out there and get exposed and make mistakes and have it not cost you a game, I thought was a positive experience for us too.
You mentioned how good their defensive line is. Your offensive line has improved every year since. I mean, it should be better again from when it was last year, right?
Well, we're playing, it's a lot of the same players that keep playing for us. And they played as freshmen, and then they played as sophomores, and now 4 of them are juniors. And everybody who plays on the offensive line for us is now in their 3rd year in the program or later. So we should be improved. The ACC is a great defensive line league. And people talk about NC States and Florida States and Clemson's, Louisville's, BC's is right there with them. And in some places they're better. This is a legitimate, again, I'm not a pro scout, but if there's 65 Power 5 defensive lines, I'd be in shock if this isn't one of the top 10 in the country. And unfortunately, we probably play 5 of the 10. So our offensive line is better, but again, like I said all year, we're a better team. I believe that. With our schedule, we better be better. And test number 1 is this week.
Will you kind of remind them of the havoc that was wreaked last year?
Well, they know. They watched the film. I mean, that was only 3 games ago for us. I mean, it's unusual. We played BC week 12, and now it's week 2. So after BC, we had a bowl game, a season opener, and it's back to BC. So this game is very fresh. And both, for them, their whole staff is intact. They have the same defensive coordinator, the same offensive coordinator, the same head coach. And they had an excellent plan for us last year on both sides of the football. They had really good plans. And, last year was one of those games that, we didn't play poorly. We outgained them by 100 and some, 100, 200 some yards, whatever it was. But we lost the turnover battle 3-0. They scored 10 points off of turnovers in the first quarter. We did not convert 3rd downs. They stuffed us on a 4th and 1 and a couple of 3rd and 1s. And they were the more physical team in critical situations, and they deserved to beat us last year. So they caused the turnovers, we didn't. And they stopped us in the red zone and on 3rd down. And you can move the ball on people, but if drives stall because you can't convert 3rd down, you're going to lose. And for as much as we held them in check a year ago, when we had the lead and our defense was on the field, they marched right down the field and scored the game-winning touchdown, and we didn't respond. I think this game we missed 2 field goals. For all the reasons we won last year, this game was probably the best example of not doing those things that I think as a whole we did as a team a year ago.
When you have a potentially low-scoring game like this, does it make the opportunity for for ball security and maybe getting a score on defense that much more important for you and your team?
I think ball security is always important. I mean, you even look at the ACC this week. There were 2 games that the ACC team, I think, outgained another team almost 2-1 because of special teams and turnovers. Neither of those teams won. So, yeah, this is not if we lose the turnover battle this week, we will lose the game. Okay, we can't give up possessions. That is critical, and we can't make special teams mistakes. I mean, the other thing with BC, if you watch the film, they are extremely well coached on special teams. They're really, you can tell they invest a lot of time in special teams. They are really well coached. You know, their return units are both excellent. They're well thought out. They're very sound. Their punt team, their protection's very sound, and their kickoff team. You know, you got some of those guys on defense running down on kickoff. It makes sense that they're good at it. But this is a very well-coached physical team, and they are who they are, and they play the way they do. You know, this isn't going to be, you know, 5 receivers and 4 wideouts. Their brand of football is physical, downhill, and they play that way on both sides, and they play that way in the kicking game. I mean, if you watch their kickoff return team, they have some of the best double teams you watch. When they run their double teams on kickoff return, it's a double team now. So there's bodies on the ground.
Does this change your general approach and how you talked about in the season, trying to open up the playbook?
No, we got to be who we are. So, I mean, you know, we've played that way for I don't know how many years, and you know that's so. I mean, no, we've got to do what we do, and they're going to do what they do, and whoever plays their style best will win.
Now, we was talking about ball security a couple years ago. Matt Coburn had a late game fumble there at Boston College, and how did he recover from that initially, and how has he become the player he is now, based upon going through that?
I mean, he didn't initially because that freshman year, you know, he was kind of the third tailback that year and a bit player, and you know, quite honestly, after he coughed that one up, I don't know if we had the same trust level, but he remembers it, and now he takes, you know, Matt is secure with the football. He's just grown up in every way. He's become a really good back and a good football player, and smart and tough and physical and all those things you want a back to be, you know, and he probably shouldn't have been playing that year. I mean, I can say that about a lot of players. We've played a lot of guys here the last few years that they played before they should have, not because they were good enough or they were ready, but because we were thin at the position. And now you look at that running back position, it's completely different. You know, if you go in there and you don't take care of the football, you're not playing.
In the days and weeks, months after that play and after the way, did you see that he could turn the corner and become the player he is now?
Not. I mean, he always had ability, but his freshman year, he was a freshman. Some very, very few freshmen show on campus who get it. It's very rare. So he was not unusual. He should have redshirted. He needed to redshirt, but I don't know who we were going to play. Who would you have played?
Matt Coburn.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the depth chart. That's part of the reason we got all these backs is they all looked at the depth chart and said, heck, I can go there and play right away. I mean, your first year when everybody who plays running back wasn't even recruited as a running back, you know, you're moving a receiver, a defensive back. I mean, if you could walk and chew gum, you were getting carries back in 14. So.
Coach, you talked about the freshness of just playing BC not too long ago. Is that a benefit heading up there?
I think a little bit. I think, you know, schematically, I think it's a benefit, too, that our players have great respect for them. You know, right now our team isn't out there thinking, hey, we won a game 51-7. You know, we're going to play an opponent on their turf that beat us 2 games ago. So there's a lot of respect for them. Our kids know BC's good. We know they're physical. We know how they play. And we know we got to be ready to play 60 minutes. And it's been every year. Every year that game has come down to the very last possession and usually the very last second.
You mentioned Anthony Brown started his first game. Is it tough, you know, getting prepared for somebody who only has 1 game
I'd rather get prepared for a guy that has 1 game than a guy that has 21 games or 31. So, I mean, you know, you'd always rather have an experienced quarterback. But I mean, we watched him in high school. We liked him a lot. I mean, we offered him and we recruited him, and he was on our campus. And you know, we got a commitment. There was, you know, a couple guys we liked, and we got a commitment. And he made his commitment later. And so his timetable was different, but I mean, when he signed at BC in the league, we weren't happy about that. We knew he was a good player. So he can throw it, he's athletic, he's smart. He's going to be a good quarterback in this conference. And he had flashes of it last Friday. I mean, he threw a beautiful corner ball on a 3rd down, and he made some plays with his feet. That's why we recruited him. I mean, he was athletic, he can make plays with his feet, he has good arm strength, and he was a good kid. And he was one of those guys, when you sat down with him, it was easy to really enjoy him, and you know, he was the type of kid you'd want in your program.
When you went back and looked at the Presbyterian tape, was there anybody whose performance stood out to you that we might not have already talked about?
I think you've already talked about him. I thought Justin Strnad played really well. You know, if you watch the game, Greg Dortch made a couple of plays.
I think he did.
Yeah. Akeem Byrd made some plays. It was good to see those redshirt freshmen get in there and make a play and get some confidence. Jake Benzinger played really, really well for a first start. Javiante Nash, when he got in there, played physical. You know, for that game, to me, what young guys who have never played got in there and got lined up and did their job, you know, because that's the reliability, dependability, consistency. You know, again, should we have won matchups? Absolutely. But to go out there in a game and do what you're supposed to do and make the adjustments and block the right person, that's always a good starting point. You know?
Silly question, but is Justin just back up Jabari, or can he play both linebacker spots and give second team reps behind both Grant and Jabari?
Well, it's 3 for 2, but Jabari's the guy that can play both.
Gotcha.
So.
Who were the 2 guys that played 50 snaps?
It was on the O-line. Jake Benzinger played the most snaps just because it was his first start and we wanted to play him. So I think he played 67 plays. And Patrick Osterhage, I think, played 57 or 58 because he was also on punt team. So we do keep track of those things, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's something I chart all year. So I told our guys that no excuse to be sore or tired. They played half a game, and we haven't played a full game yet. We haven't had guys play 80 snaps, so that'll change this week.
Coach, you talked about the last 3 years. Boston College has been really low-scoring opponent. Did you see anything from this past week with the explosiveness? Obviously, a different kind of opponent that would lead you to think that this week would be any different.
I just think both of us, both BC and us, have more players capable of making explosive plays than either of us have had before. You know, whether it's Greg Dortch or Tabari or Scotty or Chucky or Akeem or Kate or Matt, and I can go down the list of, you know, Hillman or Walker or Smith, Sweeney, Brown, the big kid White, number 9. They have more guys that they put out on that field that you can say, you know what, that kid's capable of making a play. That kid can get behind you. He can make you miss in space. And I believe we have more of those guys too. Now, you got to do it against good competition. And, you know, we've done it in practice against ourselves, but we haven't done it against this level of an opponent yet, and that is the challenge.